Good morning, welcome to Driver Talks with Anthony. Today we're going to have a cyber conversation. For those that are new to the channel, we make mental health conversation content that's going to be beneficial to your personal development and just into your well-being, right? In today's conversation, we're going to be talking about letting go of who you had to be. Right, so the version of you that survived isn't, the version that you're meant to, stay, right? We got to take into consideration as human beings, right? When we evolve, we're human beings, we're meant to change. We got to be able to embrace that, right? When we look at our patterns, we look at our lives, looking at our decisions, looking at our choices, right? And we got to be discerning, right, which way we're going, right? And if we're seeing something that's leading us to the wrong way, we're able to, let's make the corrections, right? So you had to go through it, and this may not be you have to be the person that you are right now, right? So we can still be able to, look at our situation, look at the previous past, but still facilitate change, right? So I want to normalize and reduce the shame, right? So many of us, our identities were formed out of that necessity of based off what the situation was within that time and our circumstances and who we grew up around, right? Some of us came out to be the overachiever. Some of us were the peacemaker. Some of us had to be the strong one, the independent one. They had to do it all. They had to, even raise some of the, your siblings, etc., right? They all had purpose within that time, right? But outgrowing these roles can feel confusing, can feel shameful, can feel, unsafe, right? It's exhausting. There's a lot of things going on, right? But let's dive into some psychoeducation to help us, dive into some, groundedness, right? So key point off rip is going to be coping patterns become identities when they're reinforced over time. So the more that you just keep doing the same thing, you're stuck in that role, stuck in that pattern, it just becomes more tied into your identity, right? So the nervous system clings on to familiar roles because they once created that safety for you, right? So when you're used to doing something, it's easier for you, right? You're used to doing that, right? However, when it comes to growth, often feels lost because it feels like freedom, right? So when you stop doing something that you weren't really supposed to be doing, right? For someone, like I said, was young and you're raising your siblings, right? The moment that you have like a break to go to the mall, the moment you have a break to do what you want to do, the moment you have a break to go to the gym or hang out with your friends, it feels like a relief, right? Because that's truly, that's freedom, right? So I really want to take in consideration that things that we were doing in our past doesn't define who we are. But I also want to take in consideration too, for those out there that had to step up, had to be a role model, had to, like, yes, it gave you some qualities, yes, it gave you some strength, but I also want us to embrace that with positivity, right? There's something that's called ACT, acceptance commitment therapy. So you got to accept your situation, you got to be committed to the therapeutic process. It's a rough modality, but it's a great modality for change, acceptance, and understanding values and purpose of where you're trying to go, right? So therapy, talking to a professional, you'll dive into that, but I want to just give you some insight, right? So for those out there, I want you to be able to embrace your situation, but on a healing aspect, I want you to do what's beneficial for you, right? So, let's dive into what's going to be beneficial for you in regards to the life that you want, right? So we could change our identity, we can change our role, we can change our mindset, right, to a positive one. So I really want us to embrace that off rip. So I wanted to kind of give you that insight. So let's dive into some practical reframing in regards to how we're able to release, these old roles, these old thoughts, right, and honor, who we need to be. Right, so I really want you guys, right, think about it, right? I want you to honor right now, who you need to be, right? Honor the things that you went through, your trials and tribulations, right? Regardless if it was rough or not, I want you to just think about that briefly, you feel me? And I really want you to accept that, and this is who you are right now. Let's think about who you are right now. And you're a great person. You're a great person. You're it. Right, so I want you to notice the role when it was activated out of the habit, right? It wasn't, a choice. It wasn't what you wanted to do, but it's just based off that time, that circumstance, right? And I want you to ask, right, is this protective or you're limiting yourself right now? Right? Are you holding yourself back from your potential? Is this really who you want to be, right? Is this who you really are, right? Or are you holding yourself back from your potential, right? I know you're trying to be protective. I know this is comfortable, right? But I really want you to also take consideration that you could change, you can improve, this role doesn't have to be you, right? You can create, you can redevelop, we can do a restart, right? So I just want you to take that in consideration. Also, a reframe I want you to take consideration as well is that I can, appreciate the version that I coped, right? That was the person that I was, within that time, that circumstance, etc., right? Without staying confined to it, right? Like I said, you guys can embrace the fact that we can change at any moment. Whatever we do, whatever we put our mind to, we can accomplish, we can achieve, we can, we can get what we want in regards to that, right? That's why I always advocate for people to mind their business, stay in your lane, do what's beneficial for you, right? Stay away from people that's going to keep you at your lowest self, right? Keeping you down, low self-esteem, right? Trying to see you talk from the floor up. They always got the gossip. They always trying to, you know what I mean? Like, stay away from the negativity, right? So get yourself on your own frequency. Do what is going to be beneficial for you, right? But let's dive into, like I said, you know, some micro action, some immediate action activation, some things that you can apply to your life today, right? So it's not about just hearing the information, it's about applying the information, right? You know better, you can do better, right? So key point off rip is going to be identify one role that you feel stuck in, right? In regards to your life, right? And then notice when it shows up within this week. So really be intuitive what's going on within yourself and how you're doing things, right? And practice responding slightly differently, right? So even if it's, you know, 5%, you know, softer or slower, or just being more honest, or, you know what I mean? It's just start being more authentic to yourself, you know, practice being, you know, and shifting into the person that you want to become, right? In a positive and a healthy way. So I want to encourage you to embrace this experiment. It's not about making a drastic change in regards to, like, good things take time, right? So you don't got to be a whole different person tomorrow, right? But I really want you to draw yourself into becoming the person that you want to become by doing the things that you need to do to become that individual, right? So if you want to become more confident, if you want to become more having more friends, or you want to be able to, you know, be around the right people, right? Try your best to be a little bit more open, be more honest, right? Also to look into a therapy, talk to a professional perhaps to be able to help you out to navigate, you know, a treatment plan or goals, to be able to help you to be accountable and work with you through the process, right? We can't do all these things alone, right? So look for that support. But at the same time too, like I said, when you're growing and you're doing things that's going to be beneficial for yourself, you're going to realize, you know what I mean, when you're on a positive frequency, people around you may not be doing these things. So I really want you to really take that in consideration. Don't be hard on yourself, right? Really be compassionate, really love yourself through this process, right? Because change and anything that comes with that, it is a little difficult. We have our hiccups, we have our relapses, right? Our mind just starts to pull us back, right? Into that comfort mode, right? But we've got to realize, like, no, we want what's beneficial for us. We're trying to change our patterns, we're trying to change our ways, right? And we're trying to get ourselves out of that survival mode so we're able to thrive, we're able to have that real freedom for ourselves, right? You believe that you could do it, it will happen for yourself. So I really want you to have that within yourself, but at the same time to seek that support. But wrapping this video up to a close, right? I really want us to take in consideration that we can, you know, we're allowed to outgrow that survival mode. We're allowed to break through. We're allowed to change. We're allowed to become what we want to become, right? We got to be able to take control of that steering wheel of our life, right? Either life, you know what I mean, life in, or you just taking control of your life and you're going to be life in it, right? So I really want you guys to embrace that. But you can, you know, either be stagnant, you know what I mean, or you're able to, you know what I mean, make that change for yourself and change, right? So you can choose who you're becoming by being active, by doing the right things for yourself, by seeking that support and getting yourself, you know what I mean, more intuitive with yourself. So you can do it, you can grow, and like I said, you don't got to be stuck. Take it easy. If you found this video beneficial, give it a thumbs up, share if possible, and I'll see you on the next one. Stay blessed.